Episode 43 of the Bmoney Beastin podcast. I am here with Akila Moore, who is now my dog in this world. Kid, I'm going to start here. I got the Instagram page that we're doing pretty well with, and every now and then I'll run across something, and it just like sparks my interest. I'm like, dude, what is this? This is cool. And I want to say it was something with SpongeBob. Yeah. Why it was, and you had, I guess, your friend in it.
Yeah.
And it said, "Why is it in a cage?" Because it tried to bite me. And dude, I almost pissed my pants. That was hilarious.
Thank you.
I think that when there's more people like us that kind of bring a relatability to the sport of wrestling, I think it's good for everybody. And you're awesome with it, and it'll be like midnight, and I'll get like a thing from you. Hey, I just put it, and I'll watch it, and be like, damn, that's hilarious. So like, we've kind of partnered up in a way, and I love promoting you, and I appreciate you helping us, but really outside of that, like, I just know that you wrestle. Like, let's learn about you. And I just seen that just the other day that you're having a graduation party. So I guess you're graduating high school.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just go back and you just kind of tell us how this whole thing started, how you became you.
Okay, so my dad he put me in MMA when I was 6 years old with my younger brother. And, I thought I was training to be a ninja. I was doing kickboxing, boxing, jiu-jitsu, all this stuff. I loved it. And when I was 8 years old, I told my dad, I said, I want to be in the UFC. I want to be able to fight because I'm clearly not training to be a ninja, but there's people that can make a living off of this.
Right.
So, I kept training. And then about when I was 12 years old, I started wrestling. I fell in love with the sport ever since I started. Like, I've, been doing it for about 6 years now. And so it's been really fun. Now that I'm graduating, I'm going back to MMA a little bit more, and trying to transition again, and let my wrestling kind of show me where to go with my MMA.
I do got a question there. You said you started at 12?
Yes, I started wrestling at 12. I started MMA at 6.
So at 12 years old, you would have been what, 6th grade?
Yeah, I was going into 7th grade.
Did you start at a club, or did they have a school program for like girls?
So I started at a club. Shout out to Lofton Style Wrestling in Dallas, Texas. I've actually known that coach. I've known Melvin Lofton since I was 6 or 7 years old, because he would teach a wrestling class every week at the MMA gym that I'd go to. But he finally convinced me to, actually start wrestling and start competing in that sport. And I honestly, I know everybody says this, but I wish I started earlier. It's so much fun.
I will give you, everybody says that, true, but I'll give you a true backstory here. Bryson, he's the foundation of Bmoney Beastin. That's my son, right? And every now and then you'll see us make like a dumbass video together. And I'll be like, hey, man, this is pretty cool. He's like, I don't want to do those. But I always kind of get him to do it. And he started when he was like 5 or 6. And there was a time period, maybe a year and a half ago, where he just hit a wall, right? He's like, and I guess it kind of happens like, and that makes sense because he's 15 now. So about a year and a half ago, he was like hitting puberty, and he noticed girls, and like all that kind of happened. And I feel like during that time, it just like, that's the last thing I care about right now, right? Like, I've done this for so long. I've been everywhere. So there's something to be said too, I feel like, for starting later. Because there's another kid in our area, Luke Carpenter, who is an absolute greatest kid you'll ever meet. He's got a 4.0. He just placed like 5th, I think, at state this year. But he's going to West Virginia Tech to wrestle at NAIA. And he didn't start wrestling until 6th grade. But he made jumps and jumps and jumps and was pushing for it. When you got these kids that wrestle 100 matches a year from the time they're 6 years old, when they hit like 13, 14, 15, I've done all this, right?
Yeah.
So it kind of gets repetitive. Now, at the same time, right now, it seems like he's got a stick up his ass. All right, I'm ready to roll again. So we'll see. We'll be at NHSCA in a few weeks. We'll see what happens, whatever.
Awesome.
But I think that's kind of cool that even later you had an athletic background with MMA, which I love UFC, right? I love the concept of mixed martial arts. But if you look at mixed martial arts, who are the most like dominant MMA fighters? They're wrestlers. They're former college wrestlers.
Yeah, wrestlers, 100%.
Yeah, because they can dictate where the fight takes place.
Exactly.
So if you like, I remember watching Khabib and Conor McGregor. Dude, Khabib out wrestled Conor to the point that he just dictated everything that happened, and it was almost effortless.
Yeah.
So transitioning from that to this, why don't you wrestle in college?
Okay, so I've been asked this question so many times, and I really had to think about it, because my original plan was to wrestle for Arizona State and do everything over there with Sunkist Wrestling, but then they ended up closing. So that was around the time when I was like, okay, wait a minute, do I really want to wrestle all the way through college? And I mean, I make A's and B's in school. It's not really a struggle for me, but at the same time, I also knew that's not what I want to pursue. And so I had to really think, like, is this worth my time right now? I'm only going to have so much time to be able to fight. I don't want to do 4 years of college and wear my body down, and then I go into the UFC and, I've already got like 6 injuries I've piled up, and then my peak as a UFC fighter is like 30, 35. I don't want that. I want my peak to be at, 25, 26, 27, and then everything starts slowing down. I don't want to just I don't want to do everything and just space it out. Like, I want to just fight and then move on with my life.
So that is literally your goal. You want to fight in the UFC.
Yeah.
That's awesome. We got a guy here in our area. His name's Ian Stevens. He wrestled at Fayette High School down here, about 45 minutes away. And he was like a 3-time state champ, and then he wrestled in college at some Division II school. He won a national title back in the day. And that's kind of rare for around here, but that dude's a beast. And like, he's my age, man, and he's like chiseled, like at 37, right? But he was on the Ultimate Fighter back maybe 10 years ago. And dude, it seems like that pool, right, with you having a wrestling background, that pool of people that get into to mixed martial arts trying to make a true living at it, it goes back to wrestling, right? Like, I watched a couple of his fights in the Ultimate Fighter. A North Georgia kid, man. He's just a North Georgia kid. And back then, we didn't have like clubs and training centers and shit like that. It just wasn't a thing. So you got a North Georgia kid that's going out to, I guess, California, wherever he was at, Vegas, and just beating the piss out of these dudes that train like Muay Thai and whatever.
Yeah.
So I think you have a foundation that could translate really well.
Yeah, I agree. I want to mainly focus on jiu-jitsu right now. I know that I have to do MMA. I have to focus on striking as well. But since I just came off of a really good high school season with a really, really good wrestling team, I'm fresh. I need to learn how to transition that into grappling immediately, and then I want to go back and focus on my striking and all that stuff.
So you kind of have a structured approach to what you're going after.
Yeah.
Do you intend to go to college at all?
I mean, if the opportunity presents itself, in the future, or let's say I fight in the cage and maybe I'm not as good as I think, then maybe I can go back. But that's the thing. That's always an option. Like, I always have time for college. I can do college when I'm 50 years old. You know what I mean? Like, Hopefully I'm not 50 if I go back to college, but I'm just saying it's always going to be there.
Can I give you dad advice?
Sure.
Okay. I have a 17-year-old daughter, right? And if she was in your boat, I would tell her this. Now, my boys are retarded, so I ain't going to tell them anything. But if it was her, I would say this. I would say, one thing that can never be taken away from you is a degree, right?
Yeah.
And you always have to look, and especially with like MMA, right? You could be in practice and break your arm and they can't fix it right. And
Yeah.
there's so many factors there. And not trying to deplete anything here, but you have to look at those outside factors that could potentially occur.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And say, okay, if this doesn't work, what else can I do? Right?
Yeah.
So I'm just going to throw this out here, and I'm sure your mom or dad or whoever's probably said this to you.
Millions of times, I'm sure.
I'm sure. And just, even if you went to like a community college part-time and got your prerequisites out of the way, right? And then, maybe you go to night school twice a week or something like that. Just put it in your like normal routine. Like I'm going to the gym Tuesday and Thursday, whatever it is, right? Mm-hmm. Same difference. And you could drag out a 2-year degree over a 4-year period. But if you get like your associates done and then, hey, something happens, well, I'm halfway where I need to be anyway to be a teacher or to do this or whatever it is. So I'm just, as a parent myself and as you being a kid, I wanted to give you dad advice that degree of whatever it is. And the truth is, here's my honest opinion. I feel like college doesn't make you intelligent, okay?
Yeah, I 100% agree. 100%.
It does not. Like, dude, I'm not the smartest dude. I was a C, D, B student at best. And in the past 4 years, I've created like this universe of characters and I figured out how to play out a card game and I've learned how to be creative. But I didn't learn any of that shit in school, right? Like in any way. But with a lot of jobs, which I also have another business that I work in and stuff, but like with a lot of jobs, the first thing they ask you on applications, your education background. And I seen a job for like some kind of management at like a Macy's one time years ago, and it blew my mind. Bachelor's degree required. Are you fucking kidding me? To sell cologne? Like, what are we talking about? So realistically, what I was just getting at, like, you may just want to consider, and this is just advice, just doing like a part-time college schedule, because you can always, if something happens, you would be further along than having to start fresh. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I completely understand. And I think a lot of people, they freak out whenever I tell them, this is what I'm doing. And, for that reason, know that I'm going to need a backup. And I think something they don't understand is like, I actually just became a certified personal trainer over the past few months. And, I'm planning on starting a online personal training business. I'm going to try to make some money. I also have financial help, from relatives and all that stuff. So I'm going to be able to make money without really spending too much. And I think that if I set my foundation, financially, then I wouldn't have to worry as much, in case something were to happen. But yeah, I don't want to just jump into the whole sea of sharks, without anything. And to be honest, I don't really even have to get a job or do any of this. I could sit on my ass and, but I don't want that. I know there's an opportunity for me to make money. And if I'm not going to college, then I still need to be learning something. And the fact that I can do that something and it's around the sport, it's literally training people. I'm learning a lot about the body, about, fitness, about nutrition, about health. That way it benefits me in the MMA world, but it also makes me money.
Entrepreneurship is a very unique experience. And the reason I say that, I don't know about your high school, which, like I said, I'm 37, so what we did back then probably isn't the same now. But I took an entrepreneurship class in high school, and it really opened my eyes to a lot of things that I never thought I'd use. But in the past, like 4 or 5 years, it's been like, oh, that's how I can do that, and that's how I can do that.
Yeah.
And I remember I scammed the entire high school. And it wasn't even a scam. It was legitimate, but I really did. And I think you'll enjoy the story. Our final exam for entrepreneurship was we had to create a product and we had to sell it throughout the school. And I guess nobody had actually ever made money on it, right? Well, I decided, I'm going to go downstairs to the graphic arts class and I'm going to see how much it would cost me to print t-shirts. So I go downstairs, and back then I think one color front and back was like $1.
Mm-hmm.
I sold them for $15 on a legal pad during the lunch periods. I sold 780 shirts.
Oh my gosh.
I come back and pick them up and then handed them out in the lunch periods. All I did was play middleman. I got the money. I paid the teacher to print the shirts. A week later, I got them. I took them to the lunch period, handed them out, and I had this big stack of freaking, I thought I was Scarface, dude. I was like 17. And the entrepreneurship teacher asked me, he says, so which club are you going to donate that money to? I said, mine. You ain't kidding this. So, like, you know, I was a poor kid, right? We lived in a little double-wide trailer. I grew up really poor. I went and bought Jordans and, like, jeans and, like, dude, I thought I was on cloud 9. But it kind of taught me, like, that's kind of what we do with, like, gear packages now, right? We're just kind of the middleman.
Yeah.
We get to be creative and kind of design things. Then we take orders. We pay production. We deliver. So it's kind of the same thing, right? And I learned about that. Same thing with Mac Clash, right? Like Mac Clash is the same. It's a little different because we buy it in bulk.
Yeah.
But it's a unique experience that I learned 20 years ago. So entrepreneurship, though, has its ups and downs. Like, for instance, like there may be 3 months go by and you have nothing happening. But you still have to get up and work.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to get motivated when you're like, dude, I ain't got paid in 3 months. Right?
Yeah.
So that's just something else to think about. It can be really good or really bad.
Yeah. That makes sense. Like, I know it's a whole nother risk, but it also, if I'm able to do it, it would be so beneficial because I can train, you know, spend my hours whenever I'd like to. Spend my hours working, you know, in that business and working for my clients and all that stuff. But I just have the freedom of, okay, you know, let me make my training schedule and, you know, based on what I do, then I can go from there. And that'll apply with like jiu-jitsu competitions, you know, like since I'm going to start locking in with jiu-jitsu, then, you know, maybe there's a tournament Saturday one week and then there's not the next week, you know, it'll go back and forth.
I think something you could do that would be really cool. I was, you know, of course we all follow like different kids, right? Like on Instagram. And something I've seen that everybody does is like, and I don't necessarily think it's the right. I mean, it works because people follow them or whatever, but they're like, I'm wrestling a boy, or I went here and did this. Okay, cool. I mean, that's cool. But how do you bring value to your viewer? Like if you started making clips, it's just an idea of, I see you got a camp coming up, right? Like Greco?
Yeah, it's a freestyling Greco.
Okay. So like in that, have somebody like record teaching.
Oh, don't even worry. I just set that up like a few days ago.
And break it up in sections, right? Like if you're teaching a gut wrench, right? There's one. If you're teaching a leg lace, there's one. If you're teaching whatever, you know, outside single, whatever it is. and kind of emphasize. And there's ways to edit, which I've learned over time, which I'm not perfect at it yet, but like one thing that seems to work, like say you got a clip of like a really badass move, right? And you play it fast and then you kind of slow it down, like a repeat slowed down, something like that.
Yeah.
Like you just got to kind of play with the edits. And I feel like when you do it, add captions, right? Like what you're saying, like the technique video. I think that would be huge. And when you do that, I'll collab with you on it as always.
Awesome.
And I think that'll help you even grow and grow and grow too. Because you need to bring value, which it seems like here lately in the past week or two, all I've been doing is coming up with funny shit. But I enjoy that too. Like this morning, I put one up. It's like we're wondering why we never win, and they're over there dancing in the corner of the wrestling room.
Yeah, I saw that one.
And I was like, that's funny as shit. But like, I think that bringing value in quick bursts like that, that's a great thing for the wrestling community, and I think it can help bring legitimacy to what you're trying to do.
Yeah, for sure. I completely agree. I think I tried to do that last year, and I eventually I got lazy and I stopped, and I was like, man, I really should have kept going a little bit more with that. So that's something I am gonna try to do, and I'm gonna try to get a lot of videos out of that clinic. It's gonna be next Saturday, so
okay.
We got 1 week.
I was gonna ask, what got you into the voiceover videos you started doing?
Well, so are you talking about the diet ones? Which ones are you talking about?
Like just about all of them, they have like a little voiceover with a little caption.
Oh yeah. So, I mean, I saw a few wrestlers start to do those, and they were super funny and everything. And I was like, you know what, let me go on TikTok and try to be relatable. And I had a lot of success with that up front. So I around August I started trying to see like what my niche of content was. You know what I mean? And so I was just putting out random videos that had, it had everything to do with wrestling, but it had nothing to do with each other. Like they were not correlated at all. But the second I started doing those, like, I started getting hundreds of thousands of views. Like, people loved it. And I was like, well, you know what? If they want the funny stuff, I'm going to give them the funny stuff. Like it's so I try to post 2 or 3 of those a day. I've been slacking because I had a few tests coming up. But anytime I'm on social media a lot, that's what I try to put out there because that's what everybody enjoys the most.
That frustrates me too, man. Like I like doing funny stuff, but whenever you try to like talk about something serious or talk about something you're working on,
yeah,
it's like, well, you support me whenever I make you laugh. You can't support me in this other endeavor.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a catch-22 in a way. And I remember Weston Wichman. I interviewed him about 3 months ago, and he's from Wisconsin. And he wrestled at Askren's Academy up there growing up.
Okay.
And he came to Chattanooga and wrestled at UTC here locally by us. And I remember he said that he got so frustrated. He would put up like an awesome technique video. Mm-hmm. And it wouldn't do nothing. But he put up something stupid and it would explode. And he's like, I'm trying to give these people something.
Yeah.
But he's working on apparently building like a content library, which is pretty cool. But that does get frustrating.
Yeah, I will say though, those are the easiest videos to make, so they're the easiest to get out there. That's why I'm so consistent with those, because it takes me 30 seconds to do all that, put all the hashtags in. Like what I started doing, if you'll notice, like all my hashtags for my wrestling videos, at least for those type of videos, they're pretty much the same, because what I did was I wrote out all the hashtags and I got tired of doing that every time, so I just copied and pasted it into my notes. So every time, you know, I put out a video like that, I just take it out of my notes and I dump it in. It takes me 5 minutes to get out 3 videos. Like, you know, it's super easy. But yeah, it is very frustrating sometimes when I, you know, spend an hour and a half editing a legit wrestling video, and I'm like, man, but that only got 500 views. I'm like,
it's kind of. I put up one about a year ago that I thought was fucking stupid, right? And it was like a principal, or wait a minute, that was a different one. The one with Ted the Bear, where he's like, "We deserve respect," talking about wrestlers, and the principal's like, "Shut up, Ted," talking about the budget or whatever, the school budget. And I'm like, "This is so stupid." It's got like 1 million views on it.
Yeah, I didn't even know there were 1 million wrestlers.
I was like, "What the fuck?" And every day to this day, that was like 4 months ago. I keep getting updates on that post.
Yeah.
It's like a crapshoot, man. It's like going literally to the casino and rolling dice. And every now and then you're going to hit really big, and the rest of the time you'll win $5 or $10 and lose out.
Yeah. Is the wind getting real bad?
It's a little loud.
Okay. Yeah, I was trying to cover it up, but
typically outside it seems like it echoes a little bit, but it's not terrible, I don't think. Do I echo on your end?
You're fine. It's like a regular phone call.
Okay. So we know that you're transitioning into like full-time MMA, and I guess you graduate what, May?
Yeah, May 22nd. I'm up there.
So what does your life look like May 23rd forward?
Man, so I'm gonna stick around for about a week or two. I plan on helping my high school do a youth camp. So I'll be there. I'll be working with my assistant coach, and you know, we're gonna try to get as many little kids as we can. And right after that, I mean, you know, say bye to my clubs, and you know, that's when I'm packing my stuff. I plan on moving June 4th.
Where are you moving?
I'm moving to Austin to train jiu-jitsu.
You're gonna live on your own and everything?
Yep. I'm looking at apartments right now, so.
Wow, dude, that's awesome, man. When I was 18 coming out of high school, I had a football scholarship, and I was a bad kid, so the story don't end well, but I never once had a thought of, hey, I'm going to go here and do this. I was just like, this is what I do. But that's exciting too, man. That's exciting.
Yeah, I'm ready. Like, I know I'm gonna miss high school and everything, but I'm like, okay, I'm ready. Like, I'm done with, you know, wrestling pretty much. Maybe I'll do a few freestyle and Greco tournaments, but besides that, like, you know, I'm ready to move on and actually do this thing.
That's so cool. You know, you see, it seems like most people that stick in this sport for a long period of time, they can't let it go, right?
Yeah.
You see guys that are. You ever been to one of these big USA wrestling events?
Yeah.
Where you see the Masters division?
Mm-hmm.
All right, if I got a fucking walker, I ain't wrestling. Like, this ain't happening. And I'm 37, and I think if I got thrown today, I'd die. But you got people that can't let go. And it's cool that you're literally putting a line in the sand that I did this, I put it where it goes, and I'm moving this direction.
Yeah.
Now, I want to talk to you in a year from now, just to know if you stuck to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's talk about MMA, because I like MMA. Who's your favorite female MMA fighter of all time?
I mean, okay, I hate to pick a champ, but I wanna say Valentina Shevchenko, just because of the way that, you know, she has amazing striking, but her wrestling is also just phenomenal. And you know, the way that she controlled Alexa Grasso on the ground, the last fight when they did it in the dome, like that was impressive. Like a lot of people don't really appreciate the grappling, and they're like, oh, it's boring. You know, they're not kicking each other in the head. But wait, like the fact that Alexa couldn't even do a thing, and the entire fight, Valentina is just cracking on her. And on top of that, Valentina got put in like a countless submissions, like probably 30 submissions the whole fight, and didn't tap, got out of every single one of them. I was like, the submission defense was amazing on top of the wrestling.
You know, I hate to be cliche, but dude, up until the end there, Ronda Rousey was so special. And
that was my first favorite fighter. I'll tell you that.
You know, with her having that judo background, you know, she was like a bronze medalist in the Olympics in judo. And I didn't really know a lot about judo until I heard of Ronda Rousey. And then I kind of looked it up and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. But if you look at how dominant she was for a period of time, I don't know. Somebody's going to surpass where she was at. But she was like a trailblazer.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'll always have like a fondness for Ronda Rousey. Do you have a favorite male?
Yeah. Okay. Tony Ferguson is washed up and he can't quit, and I wish he would retire, and I wish he had retired early. But Tony Ferguson is my favorite fighter. Just the way that he uses his elbows is impressive. Like, I've never seen anybody else use their elbows as much as he has in the UFC. And, you know, he lands, and his accuracy is on point. You know, it's really fun to watch, and that inspired me to start working on my elbows, because then I'm like, okay, well, hold on. Elbows, you don't, like, they're not padded, right? Like, you know, your fists are weaker than your elbows. If I hit you with an elbow, like, I'm cutting your whole face. And that's the part that doesn't have a pad. Like, that's right. Immediate knockout the second you hit the ground, and I go like that, like, you're done. So that kind of just opened my eyes, and I thought it was really cool.
For me, you know, I'm from the generation before you. Chuck Liddell was my guy. I absolutely could not stand Tito Ortiz back in the day. And I'll tell you why, and it's kind of a petty reason. When I was a little kid, I watched WWE, right? WWF, whatever, back in the day. And Ken Shamrock was a legit MMA, like, pioneer in MMA.
Yeah.
Well, he went to WWE for like 4 or 5 years back when I was like 10 years old. Well, I knew who that was, and that's what led me into MMA, right? Mm-hmm. He went back and fought Tito Ortiz when he was like 45 or something.
Oh, wow.
And Tito Ortiz beat him. I don't know if he was 45, but he was old. And I was so pissed that Tito Ortiz beat my guy that when Liddell come around and beat Ortiz back to back to back or whatever it was, I was like, that's my dude. Plus, he was just mean.
Yeah.
And I don't know. There's just an aura about that guy. And for me, Ronda Rousey, female, Chuck Liddell, that's probably my guys.
Well, hey, to go back to Tito and Liddell, the gym I started at is actually founded by Guy Mezger, and Guy Mezger beat Tito Ortiz to win the UFC championships.
I love it, dude. Tito Ortiz. Dana White said it best. He said he's the dumbest human being I've ever met.
Have you seen the CTE videos?
Yeah, dude. He's and what's worse is like everything about him is just cringy.
Yeah.
He was married to Jenna Jameson. And I'm not going to bring up who that is on this right now, but if you go Google it, it's like, what the? All right. But anyway, we'll move off of him.
Yeah.
But, like, you know, moving into you, when you were growing up, have you ever done? I'm just curious. We need to learn about you. We love MMA. Did you play any other sports as a kid, like growing up?
So I played flag football from about fourth grade through sixth grade, and then seventh grade, my flag football team, kind of dispersed because everyone's getting older, everyone's going off to middle schools, and we're all going to different schools, right? So we kind of stopped playing football then. But actually, one of our teammates, him and his younger brother, they were shot and killed by their dad, and so everybody kind of was like, what just happened? Their dad was he was actually one of the coaches. He would help coach the football teams that we were on, and so in eighth grade, I told my dad, I was like, you know what? I was like, let me play football one last time. I'm like, The only difference was, though, it was tackle football that I signed myself up for, and there was no like girls tackle football. Like it was boys eighth grade tackle football, and so my dad agreed, and he was like, I gotta teach you how to tackle and how to handle yourself, but he was like, I'm gonna let you play for your teammate. So, and he passed away March 10th, so that just came around. But yeah, I mean, it was a huge thing, and
Who passed away?
My teammate, he did flag football. I was on his team sixth grade, but we all played for the same league, like fifth grade and fourth grade.
This kid passed away 5 days ago.
No. Like years. Like
okay.
I'm saying March 10th, like March 10th, but that's the date, not the year.
Dude, that is so sad. I don't always like my kids, but I can never imagine anything happening to them.
Yeah, I think it was like PTSD from military or something, and him and his wife had got a divorce, and he kind of moved away, so it was his first time coming back and to see his kids, and it was originally supposed to be just the older brother, just the kid that I played with, and his younger brother were so close. His younger brother was like, oh, let me come too. Took him to a hotel, and that was it. It was a murder suicide. So it's tough, but
that's heartbreaking, and man, that hit me right in the feels, dude.
Yeah, I hate to bring up the,
I know. That's. I'm sorry for that, for you and the community, and that's heartbreaking. To unlighten the mood a little bit, what position did you play in tackle football?
I was an outside linebacker and a running back.
Dude, I love it, man.
Outside linebacker is the best position ever. Like that.
Absolutely.
I love it.
That's what I played.
That's awesome. I would almost screw up every single passing play just to wait for my coaches to tell me to rush. Because I just loved it so much. And I was also so small. Like, you gotta think, like, eighth grade, boys are on average 130, 140. And
well, you're also in Texas. What is the king of Texas? Football.
Yeah. So I played starting outside linebacker at 105 pounds. 105. And there was, like, I can say that, like, I made tackles and I definitely threw people. But there was this one time I specifically remember, and I was rushing the quarterback. And now the quarterback is probably like 170, 205, like, somewhere between there. And I go to tackle him. I run into his legs, like, but like his upper legs. I'm going for his waist, right? And he stands there, and like I fall over. So I have to get back up again and run back into him from like 5 feet away. It was hilarious, but I loved every second of it. It was super fun.
This is a funny story since you're talking about being undersized. Bronson played football. I think he was in kindergarten all the way through seventh grade.
Okay.
And then 8th grade, he was going to play again. He always played football, but he weighed 91 pounds. So it's like, yeah, it's probably time I put this away and just focus on wrestling. Our last rec season, okay? He was on, what is your last rec year? Like 12U maybe? I think it was like 12U probably. We had a pretty good team, right? We went like, I think 12-1, something like that. We lost in the Super Bowl or whatever. He weighed 80 pounds. All right. We had 2 offensive linemen in 12U that were 250 plus.
Oh my gosh.
We had a pretty good team. He played wingback and outside linebacker at 80 pounds, like 81 pounds.
Yeah, that's insane.
When they run jet sweeps with him, they couldn't see him because he was so small. He'd be running down the sideline. They didn't know who had the ball.
Gosh.
And then when he was playing defense, nobody thought they needed to block him because he was so small. He was so fast. He had like 47 sacks that year or something because nobody would even try to block him.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, this is awesome, dude. And he's like, man, I don't even want to run the ball anymore, dude. I just want to play defense. And we had like this call. And it was like you shake your hands or whatever, right? And it was like Wildcat or something. I remember them doing it. And it was just a full-on blitz with outside backers. And, dude, the only time I think he got blocked the whole year, the running back, they were in the shotgun, right? Mm-hmm. And the running back was, set up in the shotgun next to the quarterback. And he rushed the outside, nobody touched him, came out free like always. And that running back ear-holed him, and, dude, he turned like a backflip.
Oh, my gosh.
And you see him stand up, and he looks over, and he just starts shaking his head like, that don't happen. And that was in the Super Bowl. We played that really good team down in just Georgia there. But that's awesome, dude. It sounds like you got like a really cool, outside of the tragedy, right, that we mentioned. It seems like you got a really cool, backstory and things like that. And I think you could be one of these, girls wrestling and, even MMA, right? Like, which translates very well. It's becoming a bigger and bigger deal, right?
Yeah.
And there needs to be more and more and more girls making it cool for girls to wrestle. And, you see I can't, Amit, how do I say her name? I don't say it right.
Amit Elor.
Allure, yeah. I always say Allah or something. I can't ever say it right. She's like on the forefront of that, right? Because if you look at some of her Instagram reels, she'll put like when she was a kid and she was a little chubby or whatever it was, and then showing her flexing it up and all that. It's like empowering young girls to be like, well, I can be like that, right?
Yeah. I love what she puts out there.
Oh, yeah, me too, dude. I share all her stuff. I love her. And I'm so happy she's a freaking gold medalist, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But I think more and more girls that push that, and that's why, like, whenever we decided this year, because 2 years ago we did an MB singlet, right? Our main character of the game. And this character right here.
Yeah.
All right. But it was actually the singlet he's wearing right there.
Oh, yeah.
And on the bottom of the leg, it had fur, like his fur, right? So it was really cool. And we sold quite a few of them. And this year I said, we put out 2 waves of Mat Clash. We're working on wave 3. I really want to do more character singlets. And I was talking to my partner, and I said, but, dude, I really want to focus on including the girls, like, girls. And that's where, I sent you that collage singlet. We did those. And And then like we have a couple of characters. That's Natty.
Oh yeah.
And Collie. And I really want to focus on that because I feel like boys wrestle. We've always wrestled. But like there's got to be people supporting that girls youth wrestling movement. And that's kind of why we wanted to do this. If we can get more girls, hey, that's pretty cool. I want to wear that. Okay, well, if you wrestle, you can wear that. Hey, that'll be a win-win, right? And I interviewed Miss Branton. Do you follow her, the Wrestle Her podcast?
Oh, who did you say?
The Wrestle Her podcast?
I don't think so. I can go follow it though.
Go follow her. Her name's Jessica Brenton. She's in Wyoming.
Okay.
Sweetheart of a girl. She placed like 5th at Fargo back in the day and wrestled at a college in Canada, believe it or not. She's got a crazy story. But she's like the head of women's wrestling in the state of Wyoming. And she's like a high school coach now, I think, girls coach. But she was telling me how like there's no like across the board like middle school programs for girls. There's no, you might have a club here and there.
Yeah.
But there's really like high school's kind of sporadic. And and that's what I was getting into my next question with you. In Texas, was there a middle school program for girls wrestling when you were coming up?
Not the short answer is not really. When I started, there was almost no girls, and I immediately started wrestling boys. So this was 7th and 8th grade. Now at the state tournament, they have a youth state tournament. I did that. I wrestled girls, and I mean, but even then, there's really not that many people. I mean, there would be 4 people in my state bracket. Like, I mean, it's cool if you go out and win it and everything. I won it my 7th grade year, and then I was runner up my 8th grade year. And I mean, but there was really not a lot of people. And there still really isn't. I know that's something they're trying to build up, but for local tournaments every single weekend, it was boys division, like, because that's the only spot I was getting competition, and that's the only spot that people were actually entering, and that's the only place I'd be able to say, okay, I spent $20 on, or my parents spent $20 on on a wrestling tournament, and there's no people, like,
And like in our area, Cleveland, Tennessee, if you ever get a chance, just look them up. CHS, Raider Wrestling, I don't know, Cleveland, Boskin Train. Look up Boskin Train.
Okay.
They're about 45 minutes north of us. And I used to take Bryson up there for freestyle and Greco and summer camps for like years, right? They've won like 9 or 10 straight boys state championships. And they just won 3 in a row with girls.
Oh, wow.
They just got it figured out. Now, I don't know if they have a middle school program. That's something I still can't seem to figure out why schools are not adding girls wrestling at schools. Like, it's cool to have club stuff, but to grow it, you got kids walking the hallways. They don't know to go to a club.
Yeah.
But if somebody hands them a flyer, hey, you can wrestle, really cool. It's not rocket science. So,
go ahead.
Oh, no, I didn't mean to cut you off. But what I was getting at with that, up in Cleveland, where they've won all these, they even had a world champ, Piper Fowler. I don't know if you heard of her. He won Freestyle Worlds 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But you got they got a youth club set up just for the girls. And they got like 60 kids in there. 60 little girls in there wrestling. But it's still missing, I think, in the middle. So I think once school systems say we're going to offer girls wrestling alongside boys wrestling at the middle school level, I think that's where girls wrestling explodes.
Yeah.
But continue. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Well, so at my school, so in Texas at least, there's some high school programs where they, put girls and guys together in the same practice, same coaches, all that stuff. At my school, it's separated. So, I do guys practice with my drill partner, but I also do girls practice. And whenever my coach is trying to recruit, he goes to the middle school, and he actually does women, like he does the girls wrestling for middle school club, but it's not a middle school class. And then on the boys side, they have a huge club. I honestly don't think the boys have a middle school wrestling team.
Really?
I think they're both still clubs. And because honestly, in middle school, like there's not a lot of teams for, like, at least not that I've heard of. It's only through club.
See, that's different because, like, when I was in, I want to say 6th grade or whatever it was, when somebody told me about wrestling, I was like, cool, dude, I'm going to be like Rey Mysterio. I get a cool song and a mask and whatever. But it was like a school team, right? Like, come to practice Monday. And I'm thinking, I wonder if I can do a backflip, right? And then I get there and we run like 3 miles and I throw up. And then I get my ass kicked for 2 hours. And I'm like, oh, yeah, okay.
That's a little different. Not what I was expecting.
Not what I was expecting. But it's one of those things where I wouldn't even known this existed without a school-based program. And I feel like there's so many kids that are in the same boat. Because not all parents, like, you're blessed with parents that support you in things, right? And my son up there, I think he's still sleeping. He's blessed with, people that have supported him. And most of the successful kids have somebody support them. But there's also ones that are amazing athletes, right? That are good people, good kids, that just need to know about things and have opportunities to do things. And that's where the school system has to step in and say, we want to offer this as an opportunity for kids. And because in our area, every school has a school-based wrestling program. And then a lot of them have clubs off. And then, of course, we got training centers, right? Like, we go to Bmoney in Chattanooga. We sometimes go to Grindhouse, which is down in North Georgia. So, like, we have training centers. But in general, like, middle school age kids, most of them that we see wrestle. Now, you'll have the hammers that go to training centers, right?
Yeah.
That do it to help their team. And then you'll have everybody else that just learned that they can do it at the middle school level. So I feel like without that, it's just like stopping the growth, right? Like, of the sport. Like, because what's the weirdest time of your life? You just went through it, right?
Yeah.
Middle school years, dude, are fucking weird, right? Like,
yeah.
So you're awkward. You're. Hey, I got a crush on this person. I got zits now.
Yeah.
Like, you're trying to figure out who you are, right? And that's like the perfect time to like be introduced to something new to maybe put you on a path, right?
Yeah.
And meet new people, and So, but that's just my 2 cents on that.
Well, I want to go back to what you said about the whole support system thing, because I completely agree. And for the first 2 years of my high school, I actually went to a different school. I went to Richardson High School for 2 years, Richardson, Texas. It's like 20 minutes north of Dallas, and all these kids are coming from giant families that it's a poor area. Like, it's not completely shit show like Oak Cliff or any of the real bad areas of Dallas. But you got most of the kids are they have work and they're helping their parents pay for rent, and their parents don't even know that they're wrestling. And on top of that, the school doesn't even know that there's a wrestling program. Like, sometimes I would be talking and one of my teachers goes, "We have wrestling?" I was like, "What do you mean?" "Yeah, it's in our school. What are you talking about?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, I didn't even know we had a wrestling program." I was like, "Dude, I'm a state place here for the school, and you don't even know." Like, it was crazy. I was kind of like, "Oh yeah, I guess we have wrestling, whatever." But then I moved about 45, 50 minutes north, and I started going to Melissa High School, and everybody loves the wrestling. Now, I will say, a big part of why that is we have such great coaches, but also Angelo Ferrari just graduated from Melissa High School in Texas, so everybody knows where Melissa is now. He put it on the map. But even besides him, though, like, the whole school is just in love with the wrestling, and we have such a great foundation and such good funding too. Like the teachers know that we're wrestling. They even come out and support. We have parades and everything. Like, it's so impressive, and I love so much. Like, I guess just the amount of appreciation that they have for the sport of wrestling, because back in Richardson, it was like we didn't even exist, and we wouldn't even get shouted out on the announcements, and with soccer or football, or I freaking was a state runner-up, and they spelled my name wrong on a poster board, and that was the only thing they did. Like I was like, man.
I feel bad about what you said there about kids that are working in high school to help their mom and dad pay rent.
Yeah.
Now, I'll say this: the economy right now is still pretty bad. Like right now.
Yeah.
Just to put it in perspective, let's just make this up. 10 years ago ish, 5, 8, 6, pre-COVID. We'll just say pre-COVID. Okay. A 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment in my area would be $600 a month. All right. Probably 700, maybe.
Yeah.
That same apartment right now is about $1,800. So you look at like eggs. I've bought one case of eggs in the past month because they're like $12 a dozen.
Eggs are for the rich people now.
Yeah, dude. I'm just making it up, but like everything's crazy expensive. And I understand more now why that could, but it isn't a kid's place to help pay to support themselves. They're kids.
Yeah.
And kids that are working to help their mom pay rent and wrestling, those are the kids that my heart goes out to. And like, I wish that I was Elon Musk and I would fix all this. Like overnight, I would literally start. I would do everything in my power. I'd build apartments for free in every major city. Like, I just hate that we have a situation anywhere that's like that for a kid, right? And that's heartbreaking. And I don't know. That hit me in my feels too, dude.
With the change of environment that I had, it was so weird, but it also opened my eyes up, because it sucks. Now, I've never had to help pay with rent. I mean, I was never, my family was never rich, and we had our own struggles. There's some days we didn't have paper towels, or and we're living off of little scraps of tissue paper, there's been tough times, but I've never had to pay rent, and I've never had to help my family out financially, and that I can appreciate.
Good parents find ways.
Yeah, but
And go ahead.
Well, so whenever this is more off of the whole wrestling thing, but when I listen to kids complain from other schools, and they'll be in Prosper, one of those like rich areas, and and they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't get the right kind of food, and oh, I got the chocolate Uncrustable instead of the strawberry Uncrustable, and like, and oh, my coaches are horrible, like I hate everybody and whatever, and my parents only, my parents take such awful videos of me. Okay, but your parents are there. I'm like, these kids don't have parents that even really know they exist. Like, my one of my best friends, he's been my friend since middle school, and we played football together when I was in 8th grade. It's getting chilly out. Oh my gosh. But we played football in 8th grade, and his older brother was the one that was supposed to take him to practice and stuff. His older brother never took him to practice, so he was always 30 minutes late, getting yelled at that he's late, all that stuff. And for senior night, we're both seniors this year. I moved schools, but I had told him a few years ago. I told my old coaches, I said, hey, if he needs somebody to walk him out for senior night, I'll do it, because his parents clearly haven't shown up all year, or all like for the past 2 years, and he needs somebody there. Like, he can't be alone, with flowers and nobody's standing next to him. I was like, that's too hard. But the fact that that's even something that's going on, it's just sad.
When you brought up the rich kid thing, people, and I've seen it numerous times, and I'm not going to name names on this one, but there's a kid we've wrestled for several years, probably 15 times over the past 4 or 5 years. Mm-hmm. The kid's dad owns like this big construction company, and he's probably a millionaire. Bryson has beaten this kid by major tech or fall 27 straight matches. Okay. We're very blue collar people, right? I am not a millionaire. I am a week to week, day to day, know. If I was a millionaire, I'd start helping kids like you just mentioned. But, and I remember we were at this tournament, and Bryson beat the brakes off this kid. Like, he took him down, cut him, and it was pretty fast. And the wife, the mom, said, we got more than they do. Why in the fuck is my son losing to that kid? And that was almost verbatim what she said. And this woman has no idea that I'm his father, right?
Yeah.
And there's like a overpass, or not overpass, like the track that's like around the top of the gyms.
Yeah.
I was standing at a rail there, and the bleachers were behind it. And I heard everything she said. And all I did was turn around and smile real big and just walk downstairs. I wasn't going to start a bunch of drama.
Yeah.
But people that are very well, most people that have a lot of money feel a very big sense of entitlement. And I feel like that translates down to kids, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you've seen videos of it too, right? Some millionaire buys their daughter a car. Well, that ain't the one I wanted. What?
Yeah.
Dude, you just got a brand new car. It's like, so entitlement, man, like, I think if you appreciate things in your life, the people in your life that love you and support you, and you appreciate the things that you're given, I think you go far in this world. I think if you expect things, you're never going to obtain anything. Because that ain't how the world works. Like, nobody's going to give you anything. Not really. They might give you a pat on the back, but like, in general, you got to go get things. And kids that grow up getting handed everything, they tend to kind of fizzle at the end because they don't know what to do to grind things out,
Yeah, they're not self-reliant.
Not at all. Well, let's cap off with this, because I had this question in my head for the past 20 minutes, because you said you live close to Dallas, right? Okay. We're going to close out with this. You are, I'm sure, like, we talked about Texas being a football, like, state, right? Like,
yeah,
it is a ridiculous football state. I've seen some of those stadiums on, like, wow, right?
Yeah.
Your NFL team, your college team, all right, that you would root for, and I'm assuming I got some ideas, and it depends on if I'm going to bash you in about 5 minutes or not. And I want you to tell everybody how they can follow you and how they can get in contact with you, things like that, you know, how they found you. So first, NFL team.
Ooh. Okay. First of all, I don't even want to make a comment. I don't know. And then basketball, they just traded Luka. Like, what the hell? I don't even watch basketball. And I'm standing there like, why the fuck would you do that?
I know, dude. Yeah.
So, okay, I was in an Uber. I was in a shared Uber going to practice, and basically what a shared Uber is like, you know, I'm in a ride, I'm going somewhere, and then they go pick someone else up. It saves me money, it saves them money, and
Right.
then the rider gets more for, you know, they get 2 in 1. So we go to the mall and we pick up this guy. He's a big, you know, big guy, and you know, we start talking. He's like, oh, I spent way too much money on, you know, just on shoes and whatever, just starting conversation. Turns out he was an NFL, he was a lineman or something, and his name is Adrian Vela, something like that, and he got transferred, so he ended up moving to the 49ers the year that they were in the Super Bowl. That was the year I was talking to him. I don't he wasn't on the team when they played, but that was like when he knew, so that was about the time, you know, at the end of the season. And you know, he was telling me that, you know, he was like, Dak's unmotivated, everyone's going out to party, they don't, you know, they're not doing shit. He was like, it's time for me to leave. And so then you know, I was kind of like, man, like we're really on a downhill. So
you're a roundabout trying to tell me you're a Cowboys fan.
Yeah, I mean, really, I like football in general. I've always bounced from team to team, like just, you know,
If I was in Texas right now, I'd be rooting for the Texans.
Yeah.
Dude, I like C.J. Stroud.
Yeah. Well, my grandparents are actually, or no, my aunt and uncle, they're from Kansas City. So.
Oh, come on, man.
Yeah.
You're making it worse.
I know. But don't tell them. But I was rooting for the Eagles. They needed to lose.
I loved it. You know, I'm wearing a Bama hat right now. I grew up a big Alabama football fan, and I love Jalen, right? And when they won the Super Bowl, and it was dominant. That was a dominant game, right? I was so happy for Jalen Hurts. Like, bro, that was awesome. And I know Oklahoma tries to claim him for 1 year, but that's bullshit. He's our guy. With that being said, though, you said Cowboys. I kind of figured. Shout out to Cody Russell. He was one of the Minion coaches for a while. His brother still runs Minion, and he's a big Cowboys fan. And he went to Hofstra to take an assistant job up at Hofstra University to coach wrestling. Every time he's in town, I still mess with him about the Cowboys. But college, I guess you're a Longhorns fan or an Aggie.
I don't watch like college football that much. Like if I were to watch football, I watch MMA or not NFL for.
Okay, all right.
You know, but
I'll give you all props on Arch Manning. I think he's going to have a great season at Texas next year.
I like Ray Lewis. That's who I watch all the time.
That's your favorite player?
Yeah.
Dude, everybody loves. Dude, he was a killer, bro. My all-time, he's in my top 5 all-time. My favorite all-time player would be Michael Vick because I grew up in North Georgia during the time he was just running over everybody. And he was electric, dude. But I hate the Cowboys, so I was just wanting to throw that out there. All right, so how can people find you, sweetheart?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram, akilamore.mma. I also have a TikTok, akila.wrestles. So, yeah.
Dude, this has been absolutely awesome. I've never had such an emotional up and down doing an episode. Usually it's pretty standard, but about the boys and, you know, the kids that are without, like, just hit you in the feels, man.
Yeah.
But this has been great. Episode 43. I still can't believe I've made 43 episodes of this, by the way. Of the Bmoney Beastin podcast is in the books with my dog, Akila Moore.